So here's how Satan made you fat. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have heard on my stories, Instagram stories mostly, where I talk about all the spiritual, philosophical stuff in my stories, that I looked into the Bible and what Satan was and blah blah blah. And I also looked at the definition of ego. And then I looked at the translation of ego in the language of Jesus Christ and find that there is no word for ego in the language of Jesus Christ. So then I was like, how weird. And I looked at the definition of Satan. And the definition of Satan is the inside accuser, the inside opponent. I mean, not necessarily inside opponent, but the opponent, the accuser, the judge. And what is your ego? It's the part inside of you that accuses you, that judges you, that is the opponent of you. What does your ego do? It's very important when you, for example, walking around and you see fat people and you're like, oh my God, how fucking fat are these people? That's a statement made straight out of your ego, of the judge, the inside judge. Do you see how this goes, how this plays out? Because who are you to judge these people that you know nothing about? You know, they just happen to walk next to you for 5 seconds, and now you made this judgment out of your ego. So it seemed very clear to me that Satan is the ego, okay? So if you thought I was going to tell you it's not your fault, it's Satan, well, guess what? Satan is your ego, so now it's your fault. But I'm going to explain to you a little bit about ego in this video, and how you'll notice every negative thing you do is an action that's controlled by your ego. When I say ego, I don't mean you have a huge ego, you are a misogynist. That's not what the ego is. That's a very bad way to phrase it. The ego is the thing you have that makes you human, that makes you different from wild animals. It's your identity. That's your ego, it's your identity. Everything that society attaches to you. You know, for example, the policeman is expected to stop the robbers or to stop the terrorists and stuff like this, you know? The policeman is expected things. This expectation is your ego. The ego of the policeman is this expectation he has on him. It's the label you have on your forehead. Whatever your job is, whatever you might be. Actually, it also works in the realm of the family. If you're the father, you're expected to provide for your family, which is more of a natural thing, right? In the wilderness, animals do have families and do care about their children, but it's also a thing that comes within animals, the ego. That they understand that when they have babies, they have to protect the babies. It's a responsibility that comes out of nowhere, right? Well, it's the ego. Now, the ego is not something that, you know, if you listen to the Bible and if you make this link that Satan is the ego, then it sounds like you have to kill the ego absolutely and never ever listen to your ego again because your ego is evil. But that's not, your ego is not evil. And Satan is not actually evil. The Bible, the Satan from the Bible. Satan is just someone that makes people do things that hurt them. The point of a sinning, is doing an action that's going to hurt yourself in the future. Sinning is not being a bad person or being a mean person, you're mean to someone else. The thing that's damaging you is not that you're mean to this person, so you're making this person have a bad time. Is that if you make this person have a bad time, now this person's feelings will probably come back at you and hurt your own life. Out of revenge, out of anything, out of you overthinking, you know. Overthinking is satanic. Overthinking is what your consciousness does as a result of you doing a mean action. Very often, the karma from being mean doesn't come from people punishing you. It comes from you yourself feeling bad inside. You yourself never being able to feel peaceful within yourself because you did a mean action. So in the end, being mean is not bad towards other people. It's bad towards yourself because you're punishing yourself and you're making it impossible for yourself to reach peace. You know? Now, this video is not about you being mean. It's about the ego, but at least you understand what sin is. So if you're eating too much because now you're fat, eating too much is not a sin because you have no self-control or you steal the food from other people, blah, blah, blah. It's a sin because it hurts your own self in the future. You may very well lose 50% of your life on earth if you eat too much. If you're too fat, it's going to just drastically reduce your time on this planet, which is why it's a sin, because it's hurting your own ability to move, ability to breathe, ability to fucking raise your arm above your head, and all this kind of things. So, the reason why Satan is controlling your life is because whatever sin you get yourself into, it can be, I said fat, but it doesn't have to be fat, anything. Smoking, drinking, talking to too many girls, all this are the actions that take your energy away from you. If you eat too much, your energy is going to be fucking gone, okay? If you talk to too many girls, your drive, it really is the drive for men. Your ability to work is going to be split among all the girls you talk to, you know? I hope you can't hear the firemen. It is the firemen who are doing their mission, right? Out of ego, their job is to protect the society. So all the sins you do are actions that feel like desires, you know? It's instantaneous desires. If you thought long term, all the time, if your only goal was the long term, you wouldn't get fat. You wouldn't eat too much because you don't want to ruin your future. You wouldn't smoke because you wouldn't risk having a cancer later on. You wouldn't talk to 50 girls because you would hope that you're married to one person and you have children. You wouldn't drink by the Seine. You know, I'm seeing the Seine right now, this river in Paris, and bro, it's fucking 11 a.m. There's already a group of people drinking by the Seine. You wouldn't be wasting your time like this if you thought about the future. You know? I mean, sure, it's cool to spend time with your friends, right? But spending time with your friends, drinking and smoking, is not the same thing as spending time with your friends. If you come together to sin, to damage your own health together, you will feel comforted in your sin. If you were sinning by yourself, drinking by yourself, you would feel very bad. But because you drink with many people, because you eat with many people, you feel comforted in it. Because it's a very known thing in psychology that if you share your misery with someone else, they become great friends. That's how links are made. That's how people fall in love. You know, I've heard about it in rehab centers. When people, you know, they do overdoses and they go in rehab, the people in the rehab usually like fuck a lot. They get in relationships all the time because since they've all had those rehab experiences and those overdoses experiences, they all have similar misery. And because they recognize each other in their misery, they match together and love each other. That's the thing. In social interactions, if you can recognize the misery of someone else and relate it to your misery, you're most likely going to become friends. Or even fucking more, you might become your wife. So when you're grouping yourself with other people to sin, what you're creating is a group of people that comfort you within your sin. Which is why you often hear about locking in and blocking people off and being alone and locking on your grind by yourself. It's because if you stay with other people that sin, you will feel comforted in all the negative behaviors that they do and that you do because of being with them, because you associate yourself with them. Which, by the way, you might have noticed, if you don't hang out with these people, you don't even do the sin ever. You only do it because it's comforting to do it with them. You know? So that's where sin becomes extremely like societal. It's not even related to you. In nature, sin doesn't exist, because if the tiger kills the zebra, it's not out of being mean. It's out of things happening by themselves, right? Now, if you add 10 tigers and one zebra, maybe there's going to be an ego battle between the tigers, that they're going to want to show, look, I'm the alpha, so I'm going to kill it and you stay behind because I want to do it and it's mine. And now there's this proof that happens because of the social aspect of it. Did you know that when you have one horse pull a car, I don't remember the exact weight, but I'm gonna say a random number, one horse can pull 4,000 kilos on wheels. But if you put two horses, it's not 8,000, it's 16,000 kilos. So because now there's two horses, and the horses want to compete with each other and flex to each other, so they both push much harder than if they were alone, and now they can, as two horses, pull the weight that four horses should be able to pull. So it really shows you about the social aspect of sinning, because it's, you could describe it as a sin, the two horses pushing more, because it's them flexing, them wanting to prove to others that they're better than them, and therefore they use more energy, they exhaust themselves more because they want to prove themselves. That's a sin. It actually is a sin. And therefore, and if in the case of the tigers, if the one alpha tiger gets the food, then it's a sin, because now the 9 other tigers might rebel against the alpha and kill him. You know? You can see this interaction everywhere, how sin is detrimental against yourself. So if you did become fat because of your environment, because of your circle around you comforting you in your sin, you might want to lock in and be alone. I'm so fucking alone. Actually, I'm very socially awkward and autistic, so in my case, it's very normal that I'm alone. I've always been alone. And actually, I don't even like being around friends, because I know when I go in friends group, I know that all of them are going to be sinning. And I'm going to be the one guy that doesn't want to sin, and I'm sat on one side. Everyone's smoking, I don't smoke. Everyone's drinking, I don't drink. I'm actually like this. In the group of sinners, I will not sin. It's very easy for me to not drink in a group of everyone drinking. Well, it's actually, for them, it seems crazy. It seems like I'm so weird. But it's totally normal to take care of yourself, right? So if you don't have this capacity that I have, which I don't expect you to have, you know, maybe it's you're not meant to have it as a non-autistic person. I don't know. But in a group, you always are going to be more inclined to sin, because you're going to be with people whose lives you don't know about, and that most likely they will not see this sin as negative. They will do it out of pride, out of happiness, by happiness I mean greed. Because happiness long term is not happiness short term. So eating too much food short term will lead you to long term misery. While limiting yourself in the present, so giving you frustration in the present, will give you long term happiness. For example, my six-pack has been here for the past 5 years and has never gone away. If you need a proof, there you go, proof. Now, the point is, being in a group of people will make you sin. Because if you look at it in terms of your ego, as I said earlier, when your ego is by itself, it doesn't see a need for proving to other people, or to prove other people that you're not a weird person. You know, proving can be either pride, you're flexing, you're showing off to others that, look, I can drink so much and not become blacked out drunk, or just drinking out of ego to show people that you're not weird and you don't want to be the odd one out that doesn't drink. Ego is both way around, you know? So in a social event, it's super difficult to not be impacted by the social aspect of ego that is going to add a lot of competition. And even if you're not part of the competition, there may be 3 people that are in competition, and their competition puts peer pressure on you to start drinking or something like this. So your ego by itself is already your biggest enemy. Because there are things, in terms of alcohol, I don't think people would drink alcohol by themselves. Like 99% of people who drink would not drink by themselves. Maybe one beer, because actually a beer is a nice experience, refreshing, blah, blah, blah. But you wouldn't have 5 shots of vodka by yourself. Well, it's very rare, the cases that it happens. But in terms of, for example, food. Food is something that's enjoyable by yourself. So in which case, you might eat more by yourself than you would with other people, because with other people, your ego would tell you, oh my God, I need to eat responsibly. I don't want them to think I'm such an obese person. So you limit yourself by being in public, and then by yourself you eat more because nobody's watching. Your ego is what has all the cravings, all the greed, all the lust, all the all the power that you want, all the things that you can't resist come from your ego. And the other side of it is your consciousness. You know, imagine consciousness and subconsciousness. I want you to view this as ego and consciousness. So your ego is what people, when people say consciousness and subconsciousness, they think that consciousness is you being completely ruled by your ego. In society, people think we are conscious because we are creatures that are able to work in desks, in offices, and we talk about societal topics and politics, and that's what makes us conscious. It's absolutely not. This makes you satanic, ego-driven. This makes you obsessed by your ego, because in nature, it doesn't fucking matter. All the bullshit we talk about as humans are things that hurt us. It all simply hurt us. If we wanted to be healthy and to be happier, all this societal bullshit would go away and would be in nature enjoying life as we're supposed to be. That would be consciousness. Consciousness is you being part of the environment, part of the nirvana, of the cycle of life. You know, I like Christianity, but Buddhism is also very genius. Consciousness is when you're part of the environment, not when you cut yourself off of the environment to be in a city where nothing's natural because you're such a smart person. That's your ego telling you that you're smarter than the other animals and you don't need to be wild. You can actually sit down all day in front of a desk because you're so smart. You're so different. And that's your ego talking to you. What consciousness actually is the inverse of that, is understanding that you are just one consciousness on this earth. And there is, first of all, 8 billion humans, but also fucking trillions of other animals and ants and everything. And every single life on this planet is one bit of consciousness. We're all controlled by God. I made this link on Instagram, that consciousness rules us all, and we're all, the thing that connects all the beings on this planet is consciousness. So God is consciousness, and we have a bit of consciousness in all of us that connects us. Imagine a master of puppets with the strings, and each body, each flesh, each ego is controlled by one string, and this string is your consciousness. God has all the consciousness, and this one string that controls your body is your consciousness. And everyone has one of these strings. And that's how we function as society. Because God is pulling the strings in the ways that he wants. And every single living being on this planet acts accordingly, out of what consciousness makes us do, right? So, if you're acting out of consciousness, instead of out of your ego, you would act in the way that your body needs. Your body, your flesh, the Bible talks about it very well. Your flesh, it really shows it as this piece of body that is not your spirit. It's some piece of body that's here on the planet, and your spirit is different, which is how it is, you know. If you act out of ego, you act out of what the flesh wants, out of your hormonal spikes. Oh, you're so hungry right now. You have an insulin crash, now you want sugar absolutely. Or you feel heartbroken because of this girl. That's pure. All of this, all the negative and positive emotions from the flesh, the body, are driven by ego. And your spirit has nothing to do with the ego. Your spirit is what makes you do the right thing. When you know that eating too much hurts you, then you eat enough. And you don't gluttonize, you don't eat too much sugar, you don't crash out on unhealthy shit because your ego tells you it's not right to do this. And your ego, your spirit tells you it's not right to do this. And your spirit tells you to only take what you need. Only do what's enough to get peace. That's how you reach happiness. Happiness, people think happiness is smiling all the time. It's not. Happiness is peace. And peace is when things are neutral. When there is no excess good or excess negative. Peace is when things are neutral. And how do you reach that? By listening to your spirit and only taking enough. Only doing what's enough. If you start doing too much, now you're in the excess positive. And if you do not enough, now you're in the excess negative. You need to do just enough to be neutral. That's where peace is, when things are neutral. So you don't want happiness. You want neutrality. You want peace. Right? And the moment you'll get peace is when you'll stop acting out of your ego. Your ego is always going to pull you in one direction or another because your hormonal spikes all throughout the day pull you towards actions that if you waited 4 hours, or 1 hour even, if you waited the next day, whatever, you wouldn't want to do it anymore. For example, you have a craving for a smoothie right now. You wait 2 hours, the craving is gone. You have a craving to text your ex right now. You wait 24 hours, the craving is gone. That's the ego. The ego gives you impulses that you can't refuse. It's really temptation. Your ego creates temptation. And by acting out of spirit, you kill the temptation. I mean, you actually don't kill it. It's still there. Temptation is still there, but you understand. Enlightenment is when you understand the split, the real split between your ego and your body, your physical body, and your spirit. And now you can tell, which from my ego death experience, I've been able to tell this. It was really a dissociating experience in my mind. It felt like I could see my ego fucking crying for cravings, you know, crying to talk to this girl, crying to really being miserable because it wanted me to do something. And my spirit was like, no, I won't be peaceful if I do this. Like, I could see my ego. I dissociated. I could see my ego craving for something, but my spirit knew that it wasn't going to be acquired because it was an excess potential desire that would lead me off of peace, you know, either in positive or negative, but it would derivate me away from peace. And so I just needed to not act on those impulses that I had. And that was beautiful. It was a mind-blowing experience. I think you should work on this, on dissociating your ego from your spirit. And anytime you have an impulse, something you really want to do, whether you're walking by a coffee shop, you have a coffee you really want to get in, you understand your ego is making you want this because you didn't even know there was a coffee shop here. You were actually going on with your day and you didn't give a fuck about coffee. And now that you see there's coffee, now you have this huge desire to get it. It's your ego screaming at you. Your ego will scream at you every day forever. And enlightenment is when you understand that it's only your ego and your spirit is above this. You don't have to listen to the ego. And that's when you'll reach peace, when you'll stop listening to the ego and only act in what's necessary to reach peace, to be neutral. All right? So I'm probably, this video is probably very long right now, so I'll stop talking. And if you're interested in learning more about all this, in terms of your health or anything, so you know this video was about fat people, and in the end, I didn't really talk about fat people. I talked about your ego that makes you sin and your spirit that knows what's the right thing. And that's what's important. It's all a mind game. Because whatever coaching program you see, fitness program, diet plan you follow, the thing that's going to make the difference is not what you apply. It's how much your ego controls you. It's going to be about how your spirit takes over your body rather than your ego acting in impulses all the time. That's for the rest of your life. That's the thing that's going to dedicate what happens in your life, to dictate what happens in your life. So if you like this kind of knowledge and you want to learn more from me directly, learning in the way of spirit and ego, I mean, that's a new thing I'm getting into, right? I just discovered that I had this ego death and it changed my life around completely. Now I see exactly why my path was this way, because I dissociated from the ego and I could look back at my life and see what my ego was acting and what my spirit was acting. It was really a beautiful experience. So if you're interested in learning more from me about all this stuff, this bullshit, I don't mean only about this philosophical topic of the brain and the ego and blah, blah, blah. But in terms of fitness, I'm a chef. My point is to make people healthy. And to do that, I don't make recipes that are disgusting. I make tasty food recipes. So how do I make people fitter? By eating tasty food that is not some bullshit vegan recipe, by changing their brain, changing their spirit. It's about taking control over your ego, right? I discovered this not long ago, but it's always been about this, about refusing the temptation which is your body, and listening to the spirit, letting the spirit take over your body, right? So if you're interested in learning about all this directly from me, you can book a call in the description so we can have a discovery call and see if you can join my one-on-one program, which I do coaching. You can see on my Instagram profile the transformations of people that I've coached, and it's mostly people that actually, when they joined the program, they thought they were already healthy. They thought they were eating healthy ingredients, buying organic. They thought they were doing the right things. But it's actually not about just the ingredients. It's about your metabolism. And your metabolism doesn't care so much about what ingredients. Of course, if you eat the chemicals and the lab-made fucking chemicals that there's in all the industrial foods, it doesn't fucking help at all. It's more damaging. But just eating the right ingredients is not enough to make you healthy, to make your metabolism efficient. How do you make your metabolism efficient? By simplifying everything. Your metabolism doesn't like to be loaded with a ton of ingredients, with a ton of different meals or different sugar spikes throughout the day. That's not how you become healthy. You become healthy by knowing how your metabolism works and controlling yourself, having your spirit control your body. So, yeah, if you're interested, book a call in the description, and I'll be happy to teach you that you're not healthy with the ways that you think you're healthy. And otherwise, just follow the YouTube channel, press follow if you like this video, press like and tell me in the comments. I hate to do this, when you want people to comment, so you ask them about some bullshit question just to get some comments and to have the algorithm go up, right? But, you know what, tell me in the comments what kind of videos you'd like to see from me, right? Because people ask me on Instagram more long-form videos where I speak about serious things, because that's where there's value, right? If I make a cooking video, you don't learn like you just did here. But on my YouTube, I'm able to do this. So tell me in the comments what you would like me to talk about in future videos, because I'll happily apply this knowledge that I have into any topic that there is that I don't see. Because, some things seem very normal to me, and they seem very crazy to other people. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Press follow on the YouTube. Bye-bye.